Hi.
Hi,
Hi, 皆様。
guys.
Hi, hi. Hi, 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 hi.
Nice to
Oh,
meet you guys.
nice to meet you. Great. Nice, nice. I think like most of us like can just like speak English, but I might gonna just like do like a translation, you know.
Yeah.
You talk and I translate to Japanese anyway, like you know, for the like recording. But since it's like a small like kind of class, so we just gonna kind of like ask questions and then you can like you know answer like some sort of like or like even like give advices. That's also
Yeah.
nice too. Okay,
That'll be great.
So, great. So I'm just gonna introduce today's in Japanese first. Okay.
Yeah. Of
Okay.
course.
はい、ということで、もうマラソンみたいになってきたね。今日もちっちゃいグループでやるんで、質問形式を入れながら聞きたいことをがっつりと聞きましょうという、こういう機会はあまりないので、お話を聞くというよりも友達になるみたいなテンションでいいよ。テンションでやっていきましょうということで、おそらくラボじゃない人は、長見さん、翔平長見さんだけかな。翔平長見さん、もしカメラオンできるようであれば、オンでみんなで、顔見ながらやれたらなと思いますが、多分一回も来てくれたのかな。僕の紹介はいいですね、今回は。僕の紹介はもうなしとして、本日3日目ということで、ゲストのレンちゃんです。皆様大きな拍手を。イェーイGood. So let's start like you know your like journey and then your talk. So would you mind to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I'll just give you guys a little bit overview of my education and also like professional background. So my name's Haixi Ren. I'm from China and I'm currently living in New York. And I'm going to the same program where Xiao graduated from. I'm a second year student at Parsons MFA Fashion and Design and Society program. And then I graduated from FIT for my BFA undergrad. So I've been living in New York for like almost 6 years now. So it has been ages. And then during my study at FIT, I did internships at Forensic Scholar, Bear Wang is where I met Xiao, and then also at Town Brown. And then luckily, I was able to convert my internship at Town Brown into like a freelance job. And then that's where I worked for a year after graduation. There's like a visa called OPT after you graduate from a program. So you can stay in the United States and work for a year. And then after that, I applied to Parsons program and I got accepted. So that's what I have been doing. And then I started my own brand in 2020, like during COVID when I graduated from FIT. And then from that time, it was like really hard to get exposure or whatever. So that's why I started my own website and Instagram. And then after I got some exposure, I started working with private clients, like a lot of like, it started with like celebrity post looks, basically like borrowing looks and then wear for like a magazine shoot. And after that, I was able to get some private clients who are willing to pay money to do like made to measure stuff. Yeah, that's basically an introduction.
Yeah, great. So like a question, like which department at Tom Brown you were working for?
At Town Brown, I
Women's?
started as a product development intern for Runway. And then after that, it was like, it got kind of messy because at Town Brown, there's like little groups. There's like embroidery, there's like private clients, there's like Runway. And I was always at school. So I was like only there for like 1 or 2 days a week. So I was basically like helping 3 departments at the same time. Yeah, it was like kind of the same situation when we're at Bear Wang. It's like a little bit retro wear, a little bit like, yeah, bridal.
I see. So then you did the work like 1 year for helping like all department.
Like basically like mainly for Runway and private clients, but more towards like product development side and a little bit embroidery. And then so I'm actually like still working with them, but then only as like a freelance base. So if there's a show, they'll like call me back to help like for a few days. Yeah,
I see. Like kind of same situation me with better one then.
Yeah, I
Like
know.
if they
So
call
annoying.
it. I see,
Yeah.
I see. Okay. そう、ということで、自己紹介なんですけど、ヘシレンさんは中国出身で、ニューヨークに来たタイミングが FIT ですね。FIT の、学校の BFA、大学のカウスに行きまして、で、それを卒業した後に、パーソンズの大学院に今行ってるという、まあ、2年生なんで、今年卒業制作に入るという状況ですけど、在学中に、僕はベラワンであったんですけど、ベラワンで僕がいるときにインターンとして、デザインインターンとして入ってきて、そこで出会って、で、その後半年のインターンシップ終わってからトム・ブラウンでインターンを始めて、プロダクトデベロップメントデパートメントでインターンを始めて、というカテゴリーで入るけど、まあ、いろんなところでいろんなヘルプをすると。で、その後に、インターンが終わった後に、大学4年間終わった OPT っていう、仕事ができるビザが1年間もらえるので、そのビザを使って、トム・ブラウンで仕事を、1年間した後に、パーソンズの大学院に受験をして、今、大学院のコースを始めて、2020年のコロナが始まってる時に自分のブランド、レンというのを始めて、で、そこで、確か、before your brand started, like, your Instagram is about, like, your styling? Like,
Yeah, actually
kind of,
that's
right?
interesting. I almost
Right?
forgot. Yeah, it's like I started my Instagram more like a blogger kind of stuff.
Right? Right?
Yeah, and I deleted all my photos and converted
Right.
into a work account.
Right? That's I
Yeah.
kind of remember. Like I was like, when I met you, like I saw like your Instagram was like all about like you are like styling, you know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you switched to the brand account.
Yeah. Because I think
Okay.
I got like almost like I think 1/3 of my followers through my
Right.
like styling and whatever. So just got like a very solid client base that has been always like, you know, like into my style and then converted into a work account. So
Right.
cheated
Okay.
a little bit.
Right, that's cool. 2020年にその自分のブランドレンを始めて、それが卒コレの、FIT で作ったやつでブランドとして始めたんだけど、これって多分結構みんなというか、まあ、コロナの時にもし万が一大学を卒業したばっかりとか、さあブランドを始めるぞってなった時に、僕も同じような感じだったかな。多分僕らのぐらいの、タイミングで卒業した人は、さあ仕事をするのか、さあなんかファッションショーするのかなんかわかんないけど、フィジカルのことが急にできなくなった時に、オンラインプラットフォームで自分で制作したものを発表するっていうので、ブランド立ち上げた人が結構多いかな。逆に家で物をめっちゃ作ったものを売り始めたりとか、オンラインプラットフォームを使って、ブランドとして活動し始めたりするので、レンちゃん僕が会った時は最初はそのなんか、すごい今のイケイケの感じのなんかわかる？なんかこう、服のスタイリングのブロガーアカウントみたいな感じだったのを全部一回消して、ブランドの服のものだけにして、ブランドがスタートしましたっていうやり方をしたっていう。で、その時多分、すでに1万人ぐらいはいたのかな、そのスタイリングの時から。いたはず。で、そこからブランドに変えてっていうやり方。まあだからプラットフォームを改めて何でもいいから育てておいて、ブランドする時のためにやるっていうのも一つの手ですね。ブランド用のアカウントを新しく作るもいいし、そのままフォローしてくれてる人たちを取り込むっていうやり方もあり。Great! I just like translate it.
Oh my God, Japanese sounds so beautiful. Like
Yeah.
I can listen to it all day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, like, I have like such a very strong, like, kind of accent though. Like,
It's
my
beautiful,
Japanese
yeah.
quite, like, yeah, but thank you. So, yeah, so that's the introduction. And then do you want to kind of talk about, like, so like main topic is like kind of, we are like being curious about, you know, that your experience like at the FIT and then also like, you know, like work experience and then also like, you know, talk about like what you are doing at MFA. And then also I already mentioned that Jeffrey Beans, you know, like a fashion award as well, because like those like students also wanted to study abroad, but like, of course, like willing to get like scholarships, you know?
Yeah.
So those like kind of like topic is very helpful today.
Yeah, of course. I would love to share my experience. So, so as I said, I went to FIT for my BFA. It's very like Parsons and FIT are both in New York City, but they're very different. Like, so FIT is more focused on like pattern making, the process of like, just like making stuff, and then like techniques, and then like focus on sewing. And then so the curriculum FIT has is very like very like project based, like very like task based. So for example, like today we're learning how to use Illustrator. So all the like the project will design by teaching you how to use Illustrator. But then Parsons is very different. Parsons is like very like collection based. So basically it's like, so this semester we're going to develop a whole collection for your brand. And then so every project that designed throughout the semester is to help you to realize a collection. So there will be like different small workshops, like pattern makers and so on will come and help you, or there's like Clo 3D, like a 3D software to like help you to realize your own collection. So it's very different like course placement. But I think the strength, like the good point about like FIT's curriculum is that they really prepare you for the industry, because usually what happens is like when you get an internship and then you go to a company, and then usually it's like always the FIT kids, it's like they know what they're doing because they've been trained into this like industry standard. The way they're thinking is like almost like prepare you to be like a really good employee instead of like, like starting your own brand. But then I was kind of like, because my personality was like super against that. Like I hate working for other people. Like I always like being sort of like kind of rebellious. So what I did at FIT is like, so I didn't like the fact that every project is like kind of scattered. So I like combined different projects into like a huge project. So basically I have to like reinvent the course a little bit. So that's why I feel like at FIT, like if you use your time really smartly, you'll have a lot of like free times to do like internships, and then get your head into the industry. And then like at Parsons, it's like more collection based, and then tutors will come. It's more like one-on-one, and then whatever you're thinking, you can tell them. And then it's like more like an open space. There's no specific standards of like what you should do and how you should do it. It's more about like how you would like to do it, and then people will like help you.
Right. Why did you choose FIT first?
So basically, when I first started, because when I was in high school, I was in an art like program basically in my high school, and then I don't know why, like during that time I'm not the most creative person. Like I think I changed a lot when I came here. So I think when I was in high school I was like very like like nitty gritty, like OCD, like very specific. So I think my professor at that time like think I'm more of a FIT person instead of Parsons. Then when I came to New York, my whole like creative approach completely changed. And then I think I really enjoyed the first year, but towards the, like after I also did like an exchange program at St. Martin's. I think it's really after I came back from CSM, I realized, oh, like that's not what I want to do. Like I wanted to be, like more creative and maybe start my own brand. Yeah, it's very interesting.
So when you change your mind, but you are like maybe like sophomore, senior year or something, right? So you just kind of like do whatever like like schoolwork you just gonna do for your graduation, but like by side you just kind of like were doing something else, like like a creative side, right? So like you're kind of like spending like your time to finish your college. And then other side you're doing like internship for the experience, and then when you have free time you kind of like develop your like collection base or whatever.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Let me translate. そうで、さっきの話で言うと FIT に4年間行ったんですけど、4年間の中で、彼女に言うように FIT はすごくベーシックなところがあって、で、そのなんかトレーニングベースだから、その業界に入りやすい、仕事がしやすいようにしっかりとトレーニングが組まれるプログラムになってて、イラストレーターを使いなさいとか、フォトショップを使いなさいとか、そういう感じで、テックパックをやりますよとか、そういうカリキュラムがあって、パターンメイキングが強かったとかいうカリキュラムで、今、彼女が語ってくれてるパーソンズの大学院っていうのは、昨日の話にもあったように、結構フリーで、 クリエイティブなやりたいようなことをやって、それがどういうふうに受け入れられるかっていうのを挑戦していくところで、まあ、多分まあ想像通りになってくると思うけど、彼女も FIT で4年間行ってる間に、その交換留学でセントマーチンズ、セントマに行ったりとかした後に、やっぱり自分はクリエイティブなことがしたいということに気づいて、FIT じゃないなって思ったけど、FIT のもう3年生、4年生だから FIT を卒業するという流れに乗っかりながらも、それはまあ学校のこととしてやっておいて、で、時間があるときにインターンシップやって、そのトム・ブラウンとかベラワンとか行きながら、自分のその有り余るクリエーションっていうのを自由時間を使って、消費してって、ブランドを立ち上げようという気持ちになって動いてたっていう感じですね。で、これは、だから僕も結構一緒かな。結構モードにいたときは自分のやらされてるカリキュラムがあって、学ぶ、ここで身につけれる技術みたいなものがあって、それと同時に全然違う学校終わってからとか、休み時間とかそういうのを使って自分のやりたいクリエーションっていうものを自由時間でどんどん作っていく。だから、まあ、要するに自分のやりたいことをどんどん学校の単位としてやりたいんだったらもちろんパーソンズがいいんだと思うし、もし馬力が有り余るのであれば、そういうトレーニングさせてくれるところに行きつつ、どっかで、まあ、刺激的なことを学びながら自分自身でやるっていうのもまあ手かなというのは、まあ、今回、まあ、レンちゃんの話を聞いてても思う。で、そのインターンシップっていうエクスペリエンスを得ることによって全然学ぶこともあるし、ブランドのやり方とかも見えてくるしっていうまあ感じ。だからインターンシップとか仕事するなら絶対的にそのトレーニングしてくれるカリキュラムの方がまあおすすめっちゃおすすめっていうのは準備ができてるから人のために働ける。でもレンちゃんは中学だから高校の時から中国のアートスクールでアートのクラスを取ってた時は自分があまりそんなになんかクリエイティブなタイプじゃなかったってまあその時の先生にも言われたから、その細かく組み立ててやる FIT をお勧めされていったっていうんだけど、ニューヨークに来てから大きく変わったっていうのは、僕もそうだけど、本当にニューヨークに行って、そのクリエイティブとかその業界の人に会うと考え方が本当に変わるんですよ。確実に。それはもう、日本から一歩出てみたら、もう多分わかると思うけど、今までこう自分はこういう感じでやるといいのかなと思ってた考え方がこう、180度変わるから、自分自身の知らなかった自分が出てくるみたいな。で、それで、まあ、レンちゃんもセントマ行ったりとかいろんな経験をしていく中で、自分はやっぱり自分自身のことでクリエーションで表現していきたいってことに気づけたっていうのが、まあ、ニューヨークに来て、大きく変わったことですね。ね。Great. Nice, nice. So, that was great. I feel like your journey kind of totally makes sense because I saw like, you kind of like, you are making like own textiles, right? Like
Yeah.
your first collection is like from FIT kind of thesis work,
Yeah.
right? So I was kind of
Yeah.
wondering, like I've never really seen anyone doing that kind of textile, like kind of like driven type of like collection from FIT.
I know.
So how like the professor reacted about your
Yeah.
creations?
Yeah, definitely. It was very difficult during that time because like my work was never appreciated at FIT because I was just so different. But then at the same time, it's like I feel like the exchange program at St. Martin's really like opened my mind because at that time I decided like I'm not really only competing with students at FIT, and then those standards is not like the ultimate industry standard, So I was like, and I was never good at pattern making, to be honest. Like I wasn't really into just use some like ready-made fabric and drape something. I think that's just kind of like not my style. And then so I was actually like kind of like not feeling myself at the school. So and then during that time I think I helped with Caroline Hu. She also graduated from Parsons for like a few days, and I think she really inspired me as well. Like I was like, oh, like I didn't know like I can have a totally different approach like in terms of like designing. Like I can just be like a very textile oriented designer, and that's fine. And I when I went back to FIT, I tried to convince my professor to like help me to realize a collection that's like different from everyone. But then like they're very practical, and then my professor was like, oh, you can't do this because if you do that it'll be like really itchy. How are you gonna like put a lining in it? And I was like, no, you don't have to like put a lining into a garment to make it a garment. Like you can just like do whatever. But then my professor was like kind of, you know, like criticizing me for that. So at that point I was like, as long as I pass the course, like I don't really care. Like I can have a low grade. So I ended up doing like double works. So what's like, you know, like really standard for FIT, because during that time it's like during COVID, so you only have to like accomplish one look in order to graduate. So it's like kind of easy. And I just did the whole collection, like very textile based, like on my site. And I think it was like, it's pretty successful in terms of like exposure and everything followed after that. And then it's very interesting actually, like I talked to my professor at FIT like a few days ago, and then he was like kind of saying that I was like very brave at that time to do whatever I want. And then, you know, it was kind of like where I started like a stepping stone for like, you know, the future exposures. And then he was like, you know, at that time it's like no one really understood, but then now he's like encouraging his students, you know, to explore more. So that's kind of interesting.
That's interesting. Okay, that's good. Like you kind of changed stereotype, kind of like a professor's mindset. That's important. Like I mean, like end of the day, like you know, like kind of like education is like you know, like basically teaching like different skills, you know, and then that was like very like you know grateful, you know, to be honest. But at the same time, like the teachers also need to see the world, you know, like it's not like fashion is not always like the same, you know, like it's not like dressmaking school. It's like, you know, more like fashion designers, more like a creative, and then they just need to explore, you know, their own way. And then the teachers also need to understand, you know, the diversities, you know, of the creativity. So that's good. Nice. Let me translate. 僕の想像通りでしたね。要するに。まあ、FIT を卒業してるっていう肩書きとは全然かけ離れた感じの卒生で出てきたから、これ先生たちどんなリアクションしたかなって思ったら、やっぱり先生たちにはその制作してる時はずっとなんかこう、理解されない。なんか、何それみたいな。そんなの服じゃないし、裏地がないから痛いじゃんとか、なんか布じゃないしそんなのみたいな感じですごくまあ強く当たられて、多分成績もすごいなんか悪い感じにつけられたと思うんだけど、そういうまあなんか学校のスタイルとの違うことをやりながらの戦いをこうしながら、でもまあいいや、自分は仕事というかインターンシップもしてるし、自分のやりたいことを信じてやって、この学校終わりさえすればもうあとはどうでもいいやっていう感じでこう駆け抜けたタイプ。だからまあ学校の先生からすると悪ガキみたいな感じかな。ちょっと不良少女みたいな感じの扱いで多分卒業した感じ。で、これがもしパーソンズだったとしたら絶対あの作品で卒業してても評価されてるんですよ。確実に。学校の中でも。で、セントラルセントマーチンズでも絶対そう。ただ FIT では絶対されない。で、この FIT でされないのがすごく容易に分かるのが、僕がやったそのモード学会もちょっとそういうところ似てるから、そのなんか布を使いなさいとかって言われたときに、布をじゃあゼロから作りますっていうことではないんだよ、みたいなところとか、なんかこう、縫いがないものは服じゃないとか、なんかそういう、わかります？考え方があって、美しさのベースが違うかな。だからそういうところで美しさとは何かっていうのは学校というか先生の中にあって、その先生の枠の外のことをやると評価してくれないっていうのが結構ある事例で、だからまあ想像通り彼女は自分のやりたいことに突き進んで、自ら勝ち取って、まあ今に至ったという感じで、勝ち取った後に最近先生のところにもう一回帰ると、こういう感じで成功する例もあるんだよって言って、今は新しい教え子になんか違ったやり方を進めてるという、まあ流れ。まあでもこういうのは結構よくある話かな。教えてる子たちは、まあ先生はその時どうなるか分かんないから、こういうふうにやったらいいんだよ、こういうふうにやったらいいって思ってるけど、違うことしてた子が羽ばたくことによって先生が学ぶってことよね。まあ要するには。まあだからそこはちょっと違うかな。アートの背景のある先生が FIT にいないっていうのが大きな差かな。モード学園も多分そう。アートをしてきた先生がいないっていうので、こう感性が違うって感じですね。So let's talk about like how like kind of like did you like kind of get the exposure, and then like how did you kind of like grow your brand?
Yeah, I think, oh my God, I think a lot of people ask me that, and I'm like, I don't really know. It's just like one thing after the other. It's like I think I was just like kind of lucky. I think what really started is after I graduated. So as I said, it was like during COVID in here, and then we couldn't have a graduate show, and I was very upset. So I started like posting stuff on Instagram. And then there was a competition at that time, like hosted by, there's a Vogue talent team under Vogue Italia. There was a competition about sustainability. Because I don't think you guys know that, like, so my brand is like very textile oriented and then focused on sustainability and also zero design technique. So I felt like that competition is like perfect for me. So I just applied. And then I think I didn't get into any like final round or whatever, but I was lucky enough to connect with one of the members from the Vogue talent team. Like his name is Benzento. And then he sort of like, you know, like write an article about my design on Vogue Italia. And then after the article got published, Up Next Designer is a, you know, a platform on Instagram, like saw me and I reposted my work. And then that's how Kylie Jenner stylists found me on their page. And then they reached out to me and then they're like, oh, I have a photo shoot with Kendall and Jenner and Kylie Jenner. Would you like to do a made to measure for the sisters? And I thought it was a scam. So because I couldn't believe it. And I didn't reply. I was like, oh, this is like scam. And then they DM'd me on Instagram and then she was like, oh, I sent you an email. I never got a reply. And I was like, holy shit, this is like really like Kylie Jenner stylist. I couldn't believe it. So of course I did it. And then because they found me like very last minute. So I had to, you know, like create two like very long like gowns in you know, only 3 days. And I was like,
that was 2 days.
Yeah, like 3 days for 2 people. It was like kind of crazy.
Okay.
And then yeah, and then I think after that, because the time period is very short, so I couldn't do my traditional technique. I think what they were really into was like my thesis, like graduation thesis collection. So I think during that, you know, like because they really pushed me to like finish it in a very short time. So I basically invented a quicker technique that can help me to like, you know, like produce faster because it looks exactly the same, but then it's totally different. And then yeah, so after Kylie, everything just kind of like, you know, got a little bit smoother for me, right? So yeah, I worked with Kylie for twice, and then she wore my design like twice. And then after that, I was able to get like a few more celebrities like Tinashe, like Kathy, and also, you know, like Ashnito, like etc. And I also like you know, like work with Vogue and then write articles for like press release. And I think during that time I was like really trying to promote this idea of like, you know, like utilizing small scraps of fabric instead of like doing traditional pattern making. And I think a lot of people are really like for this like kind of you know, like innovational kind of process of thinking. And I think like that really helped me to like get the CFDA you know, competition, because I think during the interview process I mentioned a lot about, you know, like how I started my brand, like really focusing on sustainability. And also like this year I'm trying to create like more looks for plus size. I think that's also like a point that CFDA really like values. It's like how sustainable and how inclusive your brand is. So I think that really like, you know, like really I stayed out of my comfort zone because I have always been like, you know, like super skinny. So I've never created any like plus size looks. Right. So I think the CFDA competition really like pushed me to like interview, like really sit down with like all of you know, like the plus size community and ask what they like is it offensive to like ask certain questions, and then really educate myself like into, you know, like different communities. I think that's like very interesting for me as well.
Nice.